911, what's your emergency?
The following content is graphic, emotional, includes dark humor that may not be suitable for all listeners. Discretion is advised. These stories are based on real-life EMS, military, and healthcare experiences. Calls are real, providers are real, names and details have been changed to protect privacy. They may be disturbing to some and are definitely inappropriate for HR department. Any medical or mental health discussion is personal experience, not protocol. Use your damn brain. Follow your local guidelines, and when in doubt, call med control. If you're struggling, don't do it alone. Talk to someone, a coworker, a friend, a therapist, or hell, reach out to me. I'll answer. Need help right now? Text or call 988 or visit 988lifeline.org.
All right, welcome back to Dispatch Dysfunctional. Today is going to be a little bit different. Today's guest is Sergeant Tom Lee. Tom is a mental health deputy with the Hardin County Sheriff's Office. He's been in the field roughly 24 years, and he's the author of Scars to the Badge, Faith, Trauma, and Redemption Behind the Thin Blue Line. A lot of people know him for one dramatic story, the crossbow story. And look, I get it. That's the kind of thing people here immediately lean forward. But this intake said something better. He wrote, "It's not just one event, it's event after event." And that's the conversation we're going to have today. Not just the visible scars, it's the years behind it, the mental health calls, the dispatch silence, the failure, the faith, the redemption, and what peace looks like after carrying this work for more than 2 decades. I don't know how this man's done that. Tom, before the badge, the book, or the story everybody hears about or asks you about, who are you really? Not the sergeant, not the author, not the guy with the crossbow story, but who are you when nobody needs you to stay calm, be steady, or in control?
I mean, I love to cook. I love to hunt. I love to go out and do regular stuff that most everybody likes to do. I love to play pool. I used to love to drink. I don't drink anymore.
Awesome.
I go give out Bibles with the Gideon International Group. So I'm involved in my church. I mean, I just love to travel. I'm just normal guy.
Sounds like you got a lot of good outlets there too. That's awesome. You know, a lot of us in the field, as you said a second ago, like to choose the drinking, and we shouldn't, and we get away from it. And a lot of times we find better outlets. Um, you know, you. I was talking to you before the show a little bit, and you're a very amazing person. Um, and the thing you wrote on your form, for instance, of the it's not just one event, it's event after event. That might be one of the most honest descriptions I've ever fucking heard. Because people outside always want one story. They want that one story that, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? What's the worst thing you've ever heard? You know, they always want that drama. They always want that BS. And I'm sure a lot of it for you is the crossbow story. And that's, again, you know, I don't understand it. And I don't know how to explain to people that they're missing things. You know, there's more to it than what they hear, than what they see. And the more we delve into our own brains into it, you know. So what do you think that the people that looking from outside in are missing?
Well, so like you said, cops came to Beaumont and filmed. They spent a month in Beaumont filming for one episode. So yeah, one episode. So they're wanting the outlandish stories. And that's what people want. They want the most dramatic. And I have several stories. I've been doing this long enough that I can tell you a house fire that killed 6 people. I can tell you about the guy that shot me with the crossbow. If you want to look right there, you can see the scar. Uh, but there's so much more to it than just the those stories. I mean, they're not exciting. I mean, when you when you go and grab somebody that was about to kill themselves or whatnot, and you stop and get them a meal to eat before you get to the hospital. Uh,
That's the
who
difference.
who wants to know about that? I mean, it's not about those things. But that's not glamorous. It's not anything, but they're things that you do that in your everyday work that nobody knows about. But those are the things that really compound over time.
True, and I think honestly, like you just said, the people that we go and I've done it on dialysis runs when I was on a private truck. I'll admit it, I've stopped and got a few people some food that they didn't need to get food because the nursing home was assholes. Those patients stuck with me more than any trauma patient I've ever had, more than any medical patient I've ever had. I got to know them more. I got to actually see the person, get to know the person, and just the small glimpse of humanity that they got to see from outside of those damn walls made such a difference to them, and it just made them smile. It made their life that much happier for 5 minutes compared to 90 years of depression.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's not glamorous. It's not stuff that people would normally talk about. Like I said, cops filmed for a month to get one episode because out of all the things that they filmed, nothing was exciting enough to put on TV.
That makes sense.
So the stuff that you normally see is so minor in comparison to the stuff that any of the first responders are doing on a day in, day out basis.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the sad facts of it is the outside world looks at us for the trauma, for the glory, and the calls that matter. Yeah, those matter. Don't get me wrong. But 90% of our calls, 95% of our calls are normally Meemaw fell down or, hey, I stumped my toe at 3 o'clock in the damn morning. It's not always the dramatic effects. It's someone called for a homeless guy sleeping on the side of the road when it's 20 degrees outside. So you go show up, you give the guy a blanket, you give him, you stop by a gas station, grab him some coffee, whatever to make the guy happy, to make him be able to survive through the night.
Yeah, I've actually booked somebody in jail. He asked me, he's like, "Man, I have nowhere to go. It's freezing cold." I was like, "What? I don't know any resources for you. What do you want?" And he was like, "Man, I've been drinking. Can you put me in the jail so I could?" I was like, "Okay, PI, easy enough."
That works. I mean, at least it wasn't a big offense.
No, he's gonna be out the next morning.
Right.
But he got a warm bed to sleep in, food to fill his belly, and he was happy about it. And
That's
I
awesome.
can't say that was a good thing on my part, but it happened. Uh,
Well, I mean, in the end though, it was a good thing. You seen him as a human. You didn't see him as a criminal. You didn't see him like a bunch of the guys I know that'd be like, "Oh, screw you. You're just a homeless jackass." You didn't have that mentality to where he was just a piece of crap. And that's where a lot of us fail, I think, in the end, after being in this field for so long, is we get so jaded that we judge and our compassion just goes to the wayside.
judging in this field can get you in a lot of trouble because
Right. And that right there, just, like you said, okay, maybe you've been drinking, let me get you for a PI. But he was insisting on doing that, and that wasn't you being a dick, like, hey, you've been drinking tonight, let's go to the jail. It was him wanting to go. You were just there to help him. And, you know, again, some of the things that people don't see or don't hear from us like that makes us ourselves feel so much better because we know we actually helped a life in the end.
yeah,
You know,
and
maybe
it's
a few
a
hours,
great
but
a great thing about my job now is normally you go take somebody to jail or whatnot. You take them to the hospital and you never see it again. With my job in mental health now, I'm actually required to go do follow-ups with them and keep contact with them after they get out. So I go and talk to them, and I can't tell you how many people said, "Man, thank you for what you've done. You saved me that night, and you got me some help that I needed in my lowest hour." So those are always great stories that you don't normally get. Uh, I know when I was on patrol, you put them in jail or you dropped them off at the hospital, and then deuces, you never heard from them again until the next time they called 911.
That's what kills me is I hate not knowing what happens after I drop someone off. You know, I loved when I was offshore working as a medic, I loved it because I would actually get, feedback from surgeons, feedback from doctors or ERs or whoever, because they'd call me on the rig, be like, hey, this you did right, this you did wrong. And then I'd see the guy the next freaking month or two after he comes back. And that I like to see the after effects of what we've helped. Just
Oh,
like you
yeah.
were saying, you get to see their faces, and I'm sure on your side of things is there's a lot that you probably still deal with a lot of the homeless, and to see them go from being depressed or being down and out to actually talking to people, or even just talking to you, I'm sure it brings them more confidence. It brings them a lot more self-worth in the end as well.
Yeah, and we have programs where we can get them if they have a mental health diagnosis or needing mental health help. I have places that I can get them in for a night, sometimes in for a month stay. Uh, and those resources will then in turn look for stuff to help them out.
Well, that's
Uh,
cool.
I know there was one guy that we got an apartment for, and his monthly rent was like $27.
Well, that's awesome. There needs to be a lot more of those programs.
So
That's awesome. That I have never heard something like that one. That is cool.
yeah, and it wasn't me doing it. I got them to the place. They were there. The place found this other place. I actually transported them to that place. It was in Port Arthur and helped them fill out the paperwork and whatnot. But it only cost them $27 a month to live, and
That's pretty cool. And that's a good way to help, decrease the homeless population and again, get somebody back on their feet.
yeah. Well, and a lot of these people, I can't tell you how many homeless people I've run into want to be homeless.
Yeah, that's another thing.
And I mean, what do you do with that? They like the situation that they're in. They want to be in that situation for whatever reason it is. Uh, that is the lifestyle they have chosen for themselves, and you're not changing that. They're gonna always be in that. I don't care if you offer them a $1 million ranch that they can be in. They're not gonna be there.
Yep. They're gonna go right back to being homeless. And I've actually witnessed that myself. We had a gentleman that the daughter was very wealthy and he decided to live on the streets. Somehow, long story short, we ran on him, got him to the hospital. She took him home. He wound up running away and wanted to be homeless again.
I knew a guy that had a bank account because I was in contact with his attorney. He was going through dementia, but he'd lived like that for like a homeless person for many years. When the trailer was about to fall down that he was living in, it was in such a deplorable condition, and he has millions of dollars in the bank that he had access to.
That's just that boggles my mind. Just the vast majority of that is psychological in the end, you know? And that kind of brings you back to, the line I started with is it's not just one event, it's event after event. Um, that's our trauma in plain English, in my opinion, as first responders. As we said earlier, the public always wants that one call, the one wreck, the one dead child, uh, the moment where everything's changing. Uh, but what did the event after event look like for you once you realized it?
So, like I was telling you at the start of the show, or before the show started,
It's all
my
good.
my career started at a university. I was working there and got kind of sideways with the administration. The and you could it was slowly progressing. I it went. I did one thing wrong, uh, or not to their liking. Wasn't necessarily wrong, but not to their liking. And then all of a sudden, I had a magnifying glass on me, and it followed me until they ended up firing me for what was they called lying during an internal affairs investigation. They asked me how fast I went to make a traffic stop. It's like, I don't know how fast I went to make this traffic stop. They're like, all I can tell you is it was really fast. They're like, what do you think you were doing, 80 miles an hour? It's like, yeah, probably. They're like, 90? I was probably doing 90. Were you doing 100? I could have been. I don't know the exact speed I was going. And I was training somebody, and the training guy, I found out later, said that I was doing 104 miles an hour to make a traffic stop, and which I was probably doing, but I don't know the exact speed I was going, uh,
Right.
and I
But
told him
that shouldn't really matter, in my opinion, either.
I was probably doing that, but that was grounds enough for them to fire me for lying during an internal affairs investigation, which is pretty much the King's X on your career. Uh, they it's very hard to pull out once you get tagged with lying during an internal affairs investigation, and I just happened to move past that and was able to get a job, and now I'm like 18 years past that, or 16 years, whatever it is, and I'm doing pretty good for myself. So it's and I tell people all the time, a lot of times it's not the stuff out on the streets that really get to you. It's the stuff that goes on behind the scenes with the administration that gets to you more than anything. Because the administration just, I don't know, they've lost their ability to see what's actually going on, or they have different ideas about how things should be done. And if you're not following their guidelines, whether you can or not, some of these things you have no choice in, and they just sack you just for making a split second decision when things had been going good. I mean, you have outstanding performances, but in the end, because you're drawing too much attention to yourself, they want to get rid of you.
Yeah, it goes back to the whole I've always been told my whole career, stay low, and I actually worked for an agency before I went offshore. Um, didn't mean to burn bridges like I did, was accidental. But I actually asked my supervisor on, hey, should I take this job and go part-time here or stay here and not even worry about that? He's like, oh, I would take that. All right, cool. Well, lo and behold, I wound up losing my job because of it. But
Mm. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, and sometimes it's unbeknownst to you. You don't know that you're stepping on toes or whatnot, and just the admin just wants to crucify you the for whatever it is.
just the bullshit, really.
Yeah, and that is that's probably the biggest issue. I mean, that and a lot of the admin get placed in that because of the good old boy system versus whether they're actually qualified. And if you're qualified on the street, doesn't mean that you're qualified for a leadership position.
It's a good point,
Because
actually.
you can be a great officer on the street and not be able to take and walk a dog around the block.
Yeah, that's very true. I never thought of it that way, and that makes a lot of sense. And that actually kind of, makes us in the end guard ourselves more against the administration because we noticed that. And in my experience, I've always steered away from administration after a few incidences with them because I'm not going to try to step on toes anymore, even if it's accidental, like you said. It's always I'm going to keep my head low. I'm going to keep the hell out of here. Leave me alone. I'm going home.
Well, that's like what they used to laugh at me at the sheriff's office when I was on patrol because I'd show up in the morning, do my paperwork at between 7:30 when all the admin was rolling in. I got in my car and I left, and you didn't see me showing back up to the sheriff's office unless I was called up there for a call or whatnot until admin was headed out the door. And
Perfect way of thinking.
I mean, I didn't garner myself any favors that way because if you're not,
You're not seen. You're not heard.
yeah, you're just out there doing whatever uh, promotional opportunities and whatnot. If you're not, depending on the agency you work with, there are some agencies that are all promote you just based on a test, and that's not good either. Uh,
Yeah, I know you're right on that one. So, and you know, as you said earlier, you're now a mental health deputy. One thing you wrote on your form was simple, but it hit pretty hard. Is you said we almost want to all help, but we don't know how because no one tells you they're struggling. That's real. We're trained in the end to read the scenes. We're trained to read body language, and we're trained to catch the threats, the risk, the dangers. But the pain hides well. Cops hide it, medics hide it, firefighters hide it, hell, dispatchers hide it quite well. Nurses hide it, our families hide it, the publics hide it. And when someone finally breaks down and everyone says, we didn't know, we didn't know. You, that's sometimes because the person never had a safe place to say it. It's also because of, like we just said, administration. Who wants to admit that they're having a problem when they're going to be punished or fired or suspended or anything? So on that note, what has mental health work taught you about hidden struggles and how to articulate them better?
well, I mean, it all comes with trust. People's got to be able to trust you to do what you do. I, I know I ran on a certain firefighter who told me he was good, and the next day, it was either that night or the next day, I got a phone call from him saying, "Hey, I need you to come get me. I just tried to hang myself, and the rope broke, and now the cops are coming to my house and whatnot." And he actually ran off in the woods and wouldn't come out, and the sheriff's office was fixing to leave him because he was there by himself. And it's some when you're there by yourself and no threat to other people but yourself, and
Attempted?
but you're a threat to officers if they come towards you. Uh,
Gotcha.
it's easier to just leave you alone than put your put all the officers and everybody in a situation that may turn bad. So after a while with patrol being there, I called and said, "Man, I've got his phone number. Let me talk to him." He called me, and I sat there and talked with him for 15, 20 minutes, reassured him I wasn't going to put him in handcuffs, but I did have to take him to the hospital. Uh, he finally came out and got in the back seat of my car, and I drove him to the hospital. But he swore to me earlier that day or the day before that he wasn't suicidal.
Damn. I bet that
So,
was
I mean,
hard too.
it's just one of those things that sometimes you have no clue until it's too late. And luckily for him, it wasn't too late. I actually saw him back earlier this year, and he walked up. He was like, "Man, you taking me to the hospital that day was probably the best thing you've done or that's happened to me in my life."
That's
So,
awesome.
and so that
Yes.
happened like 5, 6 years ago, and it's still. I still see him out everywhere. He's no longer with the fire department or anything, but
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that kind of has me have a little bit of flashbacks because I had a gentleman offshore um, who I spoke to the day we got on board. He said he wasn't feeling good, so I left him alone, and then we wound up uh, going 2 or 3 days. He kept saying he didn't feel good, didn't feel good, didn't feel good. So I'm thinking, okay, seasickness, because we're on rigs and boats, and I'm like, all right, we'll do seasick. I'll go seasick treatment, and did this whole treatment with him. And I think it was the fourth day. Uh, Went to the morning meeting, asked if anyone's seen him, anyone talked to him. They're like, oh yeah, we talked to him last night. All right, he's supposed to be in the meeting with us. Where the hell's he at? What's going on? Something felt off. So of course I go check, and he hung himself in the room. Like you said, no one had any signs. You know, we found out later, finding a few bottles of alcohol in the room that isn't supposed to be on board, and none of his best friends on board even knew. And that's, like you said, it is a hidden struggle that some people just know how to hide.
well, yeah, I mean, and it happens to everybody. I mean, it's not just the first responder community that it
Oh yeah,
happens to. Just first responders are probably less likely to seek help over anybody else because, I mean, if you say the wrong word, somebody's going to put you in the hospital. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's going to happen against your will, and then there's people feel like there's a shame in it, and there's not. Uh, but that doesn't change other people's minds. Uh, and it, I tell people all the time that because we have three basic questions we ask just about everybody we come in contact. Are you thinking about harming or killing yourself? Are you thinking about killing other people? Or are you seeing or hearing things that maybe I don't see or hear? Uh, if you answer no to you've never thought about hurting yourself or killing yourself, I'm pretty much going to say, hey, you're not telling me the truth because almost everybody at some point in time has, even if it's a fleeting thought, has made that thought. So,
yeah. It's just and a lot of us um, dive towards that thought, and that's of course bad. Trying to
and of
figure out
course,
better.
the alcohol just makes it worse because it's a depressant. And I mean, you may feel better for a little while, but then it sends you down a deep, dark hole that you may not come back from.
Yes, sir. So, what made you delve into the mental health law enforcement work?
So, when I got hired by the university police department that's down in Beaumont, uh, they actually were looking to send people to mental health peace officer class, and I was one of two officers that they voluntold that you had to go to these class. I wasn't against it, but I wasn't really something I was looking for. And then several years later, after going to that class, the sheriff's office decided that they were going to get involved in this task force that was a mental health task force. And I just happened to be the only person that was certified in the sheriff's office. So they offered it to me.
That's awesome.
And maybe the sheriff had some other reasons for doing it. I don't know. I wasn't privy to any of that. He just called me one day and said, "Hey, we've got this. Are you interested?" And I've been there for 7 years now.
That's awesome. And I'm sure there's a bunch of misunderstandings about the mental health calls you get. What's one of the biggest ones that people misunderstand about those?
Well, so people think that just because they're hearing or seeing things that you need to be hospitalized. And it's not a crime to be hearing or seeing things. The only time that we hospitalize you is if you're doing something in such an extreme way that you're endangering yourself or somebody else. So if you don't meet those criteria, just because you believe your neighbor is working for the CIA and bugging your house doesn't mean that I get to take you to the hospital for it. And that's probably a big perception that people have. I don't know how many times I go out. I'm like, yeah, I think they have a mental illness. No, I can't do anything about it. The law doesn't allow me to just force the person against the will to get treatment. It's like if you have cancer, I can't tell you you're going to take chemo or radiation. That's a choice you get to make.
True. I kind of want to hear more about the CIA call, but anyway. Did they have
That's a
foil hats?
it's a pretty standard call that we get actually all the time. Is people think
Really?
that they're getting either they work for the CIA or the FBI and they're getting followed or whatnot. A lot of paranoia, or uh, other people in the community are bugging their houses, or they. I have lots of stories that are like
Sure. Do any of them involve foil hats, though? That's my question.
that. Let's see. There's one that I know of that kind of does. We told back before I was in before I was in mental health. There's actually another deputy told this woman that because she thought her phone was hacked, her cell phones, and she had gone through like 20 or 30 of them. So one of the deputies uh, happened to tell her, "Oh, a microwave's a safe place for your phone. They can't." So she would throw her phones in the microwave.
Or that's funny or sad on the deputy's part, but anyway. Oh, Lord. So, what has this work taught you about listening in the end, to people? I know it's probably taught you a lot, but
Well, that's the biggest key is listening versus just having a conversation or hearing yourself talk. You do less talking, you let them talk.
so on that note, like say for the EMS side of things, if we go run on a mental health call, do you think it would behoove us to let them talk more instead of us trying to talk over them?
Yeah, we all find ourselves in that situation where we have standard questions we want answered. Uh, are you orientated? And people go tell you their life stories. If you spend just a little bit long longer time just listening to that instead of trying to get your questions that you have to have answered, things seem to go better for you.
Yeah, true. I've actually had a psych patient before that, like you said, I just let them talk, and in the end, I think that was more beneficial for them than the medicine.
I mean, sometimes it'll even work on regular patients. They want to be
Sure.
heard. I mean, how many times you go to your doctor and they come in, what's the problem? Okay, here's your script, and you see them for like 5 minutes. That's pretty standard. Whereas if you have a doctor that actually sits down and talks to you and wants to know what's going on in your life, where and has that bedside manner about them, where they're actually feel like they're interested in you and not just in treating your problem for the time.
That are like my doctor always does. I'm going to type on my laptop while you talk. No, that's not. No, don't do that. Stop that.
Yeah, I just happened. My doctor, he actually was a cop.
Wow.
He's actually a nurse practitioner,
Right.
not a full MD.
Close
But
enough.
yeah, we come in. He asked me about what's going on in the county. We we talk about a bunch of stuff that has absolutely no bearing on why I came to see him.
But it builds that trust, and it
Yes.
builds that camaraderie between you and your doctor, and that is a big thing. Even as you're talking about doing your job, being able to bullshit with the people you run on, or just talk to them about everyday happenings. That creates that bond that lets them know, hey, look, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you.
Yeah, we're all people.
Right.
So I mean, and I know those 3 o'clock phone or those 3 o'clock alarm bells when you're waking up and responding to those calls, and you just want to go back to sleep and throw somebody in the back of the ambulance as fast as possible and get them to the hospital so you can go get back in bed because next shift comes in at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and you're only going to get 30 or 40 minutes of sleep. I mean, if you just spend a little bit of extra time and talk to them and treat them like humans, uh, and that it doesn't matter if it's your wife, if it's your friends,
No matter
it,
who it is.
it's that's part of just communicating in life in general. Uh, Stop being so involved about you and let them have some time.
Right there. That right there. That's that's got to be the biggest. That's got to be the best thing someone's said on this show is let them be them. Pretty much. Let them, like you just said, we're all humans. We all need to have decency. We all need to have humanity. And the fact that a lot of us get so jaded or cold, I should say, to others is ridiculous. Like you said, the 3 a.m. calls. I've had my share of them. I'll say I'm guilty of it. I've thrown them in the back. Oh, I just want to go back to bed. I'm not going to listen to you. But those
Well, it's all
one,
of us.
oh yeah, I know. But those ones that I have had that I'm like, all right, cool. It's going to be 3 o'clock in the morning. I won't be back till 6. We crew change at 7. Screw it. Let me hear your story. Those were the best calls I've ever ran, in all honesty. And some of them were BS calls. Some of them were really good calls, gunshot wounds or stabbings, but them talking helped the treatment exponentially.
Yes, there's something in the human psyche that if you just talk it out, you do better than a lot of medicine will do.
Very true. So, on your forum, you mentioned child involved calls, people in crisis, helping people who have done horrible things. Of course, we're not going to go into graphic details that you don't want to. We're not going to name names. We're not going to name agencies or anything identifiable. Uh, but I would like to talk about um, the person who's responded to these calls because of how it changes us. You know, it changes how we see people. It changes how you see your own faith. Uh, to change how you look at your own family when you get home. How it makes you angry. How it makes you numb, like I just said. And it makes you question things that you thought were solid, and then somehow you still have to go back in service. What kind of calls left that deep mark on you?
So real recently, about a year ago, and there are names in my book, and I didn't name them unless they had been convicted of a crime.
Right.
Uh, Other details I changed various aspects of it to hide their identity. So there is that. But I mean, I've had a 8-year-old person that attempted to kill their parents by poisoning their parents and their adopted parents, uh,
Wow.
and actually elicited the help of a sibling in doing so.
You kidding?
I've I've been talking on the phone to other people for over an hour with a gun to their head, and they finally shot themselves while I was talking to them.
Damn.
I've knocked on the front door to people's house, and as soon as I knocked, they've shot and killed themselves. Uh, I've
Then they're going,
taken. I had one guy that he's now a convicted child molester, continuous child molester. He's in jail for the rest of his life. But before he was sentenced, he or and there was no that we were waiting for the grand jury to return a indictment for him. He was out on the streets, and he just so happened to have a mental health diagnosis, and I took him every month to get a shot that he required to stay stable. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people just don't know that we're doing.
right. So on that, as you said, that the sex abuser. Um, I know a lot of medics. I know a lot of firefighters. I know a lot of cops that try to not see them as people. They see them as God knows what. Um, my personal place is I'm going to treat anybody the way I can treat them. I don't care what you've done. I don't care about your past. I don't care about anything. You're who I treat you as. Is that your same feeling on that as well?
Like I said, we're all people. I mean,
Right.
we've all done something that wasn't kosher in law. I mean, we may not all be child molesters, but
Right.
I guarantee you that you've done something to break the law.
I know I
Uh,
have.
I know. Oh, and me too. I mean, I I love driving 10 miles an hour over the speed limit everywhere I go. I mean, it's not the same as raping a little kid, but it's still you're still breaking the law. I mean, we all break the law. Uh,
Well,
for
my
so
thing on that too is we're not the judge. We're not the jury. We are the ones that are there when they're in need. Um, and yes, they could be spending the rest of their lives in prison. They could be put it to death, but that's not our call. That's not our relation to them.
yeah, this child molester that we're talking about, I actually started working with him prior to even knowing anything about the child abuse
Wow.
allegations, and I was getting him help prior to that. And then one day I walked in through the sheriff's office, and one of the detectives came to me and said, "Hey, we need you over here." One guy just said that he was molesting this child, and now that he's confessed to it, he's saying that he wants to kill himself. Uh, I opened the door, and it just happens to be this guy. I was like,
Damn.
"Oh, it's you!" I'm like, man, you saying this stuff, I have a duty to take you to the hospital. I've got to do it.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I know. Let's go. So I loaded him up, took him to the hospital. While walking out, because I rarely handcuff people, not unless they have to be.
Right.
And on my way walking out to the car with him, he was like, hey, would you go ahead and handcuff me because I'm thinking about fighting with you and taking your gun and then killing myself with your gun. I'm like, yeah,
Wow. Yeah, let's
I'll
do
go
this.
ahead and restrain you so that you don't take my gun. I get him to the hospital. Of course, like I said, I followed up with him. Uh, one of the city PDs was also working a child abuse case on him. Uh, they arranged with me, or through me, for him to come and confess to them about him molesting another kid. So I took him to that appointment. He wouldn't let me sit in the interview and hear what he had done, but of course I knew what was going on, and afterwards I took him back home and whatnot and talked to him. I was like, "Last time you confessed you were suicidal. Are you still suicidal?" He's like, "No, I'm doing good today." Okay, well, you got my number if you need to call me or whatnot. And I was like, you've confessed to these things. At some point in time, there's going to be a warrant for your arrest. You want me to let the patrol guys come and get you, or do you want me to arrest you? And he goes, when it's time, you come and get me. So,
Wow.
so one day I showed up on his door, knocked on the door, said, man, this is the day you've dreaded. The warrant's out. And he's like, okay, I'm ready. And I, I rarely take people to jail now, but those are some of the circumstances that I take people to jail now for.
So this is an interesting question just popped in my head. On that is, and I mean, I could be reading this wrong, but is any of that protected between the healthcare side and the law enforcement side, or does it have to merge?
Protected how? You talking about HIPAA violations
Yeah,
or?
kind of like, yeah, in a way.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I'm not really telling you what his diagnosis is or what medication he was taking, just that he
No, no,
was.
no. I was talking about like say you're still acting under the sheriff's department as a mental health officer. So if you're treating this mental health guy, um, and then all of a sudden he is convicted, can they bring your mental health visits into his uh, trial or anything?
Well, they'd have to. So we're with the local mental health authority here.
Okay,
So I do notes over there, and they can subpoena the records just like anything else.
I got you. So it
So
is
that,
it is kind of HIPAA protected in the end.
yes,
I got you.
some of it's HIPAA protected and some of it's not. I mean, it just anything law enforcement related that I do is not HIPAA protected. Anything medical that I do is HIPAA related.
Right, I got you. So you also mentioned earlier getting fired from an agency, and I really appreciate the hell of that because a lot of people wouldn't tell me that, or they would just leave the damn thing out. Uh, but that's not the part. That's not the part folks usually lead with. Everybody wants to know about the errors that we have, the saves, the big crazy calls, and the moments that we all look strong. Um, but that getting fired, that hits an identity, especially in the field we work in. Because a lot of people in the job, it becomes a name tag on their soul. We live it, we breathe it, we sleep it. And then when that gets taken, questioned, or damaged, it can feel like you didn't just lose a job; it lost who you were and your whole uh, being in the end. So what kind of effect did that have on your mental health in the end on that part as well?
I was pretty depressed at the time. I was in my 20s, so drinking was a big thing, and I used the bottle to get over it, which I would not suggest to anybody going down that road. But in your 20s, that's pretty much how you handle things. Uh, Not only that, is I had one of my field training officers during the same period of time. Actually, I was playing golf with him the day that I was fired from work. I got called into the office and the whole firing started. I was playing golf with him, uh, and he ended up killing himself during this whole time too. So he
Damn.
committed suicide while
Sorry to hear that.
this whole thing was going on. And man, I probably laid in my room and did nothing but go out and drink for a good month or more. Uh, so
So did that help you now be able to help in your field that you work now? Did your whole history help build you into the officer you are today?
I'm very much so, because I mean, everything that you do takes and guides you one way or the other. I mean,
Right.
if you so so all of that, I mean, if I wouldn't have gone through it myself, I hadn't drank tons of alcohol, and why would I be here to tell you you shouldn't do that?
Good point.
Uh, I'm telling you, as somebody that has done this, that that's not the right way to go. Uh, Whereas if I lost my train of thought there,
Oh, you're
so
good.
sorry about
I,
that.
I have a feeling where you're going with that. I'm if correct me if I'm wrong, but if where you were going with that is since you've lived it, you can actually preach on it. You're not an outsider looking in on somebody else that's not seen it or dealt with it.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, if you never experienced it, how can you tell somebody? That's the same thing with like licensed drug dependency counselors.
Right.
The best licensed drug dependency counselors that are out there are ones that were addicted to drugs beforehand. I've never been addicted to any drugs. I wouldn't be able to tell you what that was like. The the alcohol that I drank, I wasn't dependent on it. I was able to just have it. I mean, I drank till I was blackout drunk when I drank, but I didn't do it every night. It
You were you
wasn't.
you weren't addicted to it. You depended
Yeah,
on it, but not addicted to it.
yeah. I mean, I did it to just numb out and go away. Wasn't doing it to. It's my daily life, and I have to have it to function. So I can't tell you what that's like. I wouldn't be the best counselor for that. I can tell you it's not good to do that, but I don't have any life experience in it.
Right, I got you. So back to your book real quick too. Sorry I'm going back and forth so much, but
It's all good.
my mind just goes wee. It's like a little pinball machine. I'm typing as we're speaking, and I'm coming up with questions. So your book is called "Scars of the Badge: Faith, Trauma, and Redemption Behind the Thin Blue Line." The title is a lot. That carries a lot. Mainly, the faith, the trauma, the redemption, the badge, the scars. None of those words belong to a clean story. They belong to a very well lived one. They belong to a man of faith. You also wrote that you're a Christian and you're a member of the Gideons. If I mispronounced that, I'm sorry. Um, so I want to talk about faith, but not in a fake, polished way that a bunch of these preachers do. Um, so, you know, I am a very firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Um, Not sure about you on that one, but what did your faith give you when the job, the trauma, and all this got so heavy that you did have to go back to alcohol?
Well, so I mean, I, I've always been in the Christian world. I went to high school at a Christian or a Christian high school.
Oh, that's
Uh,
cool.
but I there was many years there that I didn't live it. Uh, you wouldn't know me from the atheist walking down the street. I mean, I still believed what I believed, but I wasn't walking that line. I wasn't doing anything that would give somebody from the outside looking in a reason to say that that's a Christian right there. Uh, so I've lived that life, and I know that when I'm going to church and reading the Bible daily and and talking to God through prayer, that things just always have gone better for me during those periods of times in my life than when I was doing all the worldly stuff, the the drinking, the going out to bars and doing all the stuff that most of the world does. That's typically when I have my worst times in my life.
Gotcha. Uh, and a lot of I'm gonna just say the way that it just came in my head. A lot of the people that I know that are better providers, better police officers, EMS, fire, um, they depend on their faith so much that it helps them become better at what they're doing. They become better people. It doesn't matter what your faith is to me. I don't care. Um, in all honesty, as long as you believe in what you believe in and you live by what you believe, that's how I feel.
Hmm.
And as you said a minute ago, is your faith keeps you grounded. It'll keep you from going back to alcohol. They don't they don't call God a savior for nothing. You are saved for a reason.
I mean, in some of the talks that we had at the beginning of the show, uh, yeah, everybody's human. We all have our own faults. We There's not a single one of us that lives a perfect life.
Very
Uh,
true.
Jesus was the only person that has done that, at
Right.
least in my assumption of or my take
You're
on what
right.
has happened. Uh, and
And that's again, that's the Christian beliefs. And as I stated a minute ago, there's nothing wrong with that. I I was from a Christian family, so I understand 100% on that. And I don't try to judge any other religions. For instance, I'm not going to name all of them because there's so many, but Buddha or Islam or anything. I'm not. I think in the end, as long as you have faith, that's all that matters. Um, and that kind of brings me to this next part that you wrote as well is on the bottom of my form. I have what do you want people to take away from this episode? And you wrote peace can be found. That's simple. Um, it's but coming from someone with your background, it's not soft. It's earned. Peace means something different after 24 years of the calls you've ran. It's not pretending nothing's happened. It's not forgetting. It's not being untouched. It's not walking away without scars. Um, Peace is being able to tell the truth without owning it or it owning you. Uh, Peace is knowing your failures didn't get the final vote. Sometimes peace is faith with dirt under its fingernails, and that's 100% right there. Just as we were just saying, So now, what is peace like for you as of today?
man, I'm here to tell people my story and what I've gone through. But I mean, it comes back to my faith, and if you read the Bible at all, there's a certain peace that comes that surpasses all understanding. Uh, I can't tell you how that's going to look for you and whatnot, but when I've been shot, I've seen so many people die. And my title there at the sheriff's office when I was on patrol was Deputy Death because they dispatched me to all the death calls. Uh,
Damn.
when I was on, I've ran. I can't tell you how many death scenes I've worked. Uh, you can get a copy of my book and see some of that. Little
Next, sir.
shameless plug there.
That will be next.
but but anyway, I mean, through all that, I mean, and the fact that I've never or I haven't always walked that solid line that leads the the holier than thou Christian that you think, man, I'm a human just like everybody else. I mess up all the time. My story tells you I started out the story telling you about me getting fired for lying. I mean, I wasn't perfect in any of that. Uh,
That all holier than thou crap. I hate that with people. I really do. We're all human. We all screw up. And like you said,
I
there's
mean,
no
why
there's
would
no
I need a savior if I wasn't messed up to begin with?
I've never thought of it that way.
So, I mean, you you have to understand that we are all under the same pretenses. We all have the same flaws. We're we're all human,
Right.
and the only way I can turn away from that is through Jesus Christ.
Very true. And as I said a minute ago, everybody has their own faith, their own humanity in the end. Think that's what makes us human. We depend on each other. We help each other. We can help teach each other, the scriptures, if you will, if all else fails. If that's what helps calm someone down. And I'm sure you've done it recently, if I'm not mistaken. You've probably done that a few times with some of your mental health patients, and that, again, I've noticed it myself. I'm not a very big religious man, but it does help some of the patients just to help speak to them, read a Bible verse with them, start talking to them. It makes a huge difference, and sorry, I was going on, but I'm going to start ending it here in a second. I want you to just picture someone listening to this alone. Maybe they're a deputy sitting in the patrol car after a bad call. Maybe they're a dispatcher sitting with a quiet radio after the chaos. Maybe they're a medic, a firefighter, cop, correction officer, nurse, or responder who is just numb and can't explain why. Been there, done that one. Maybe they're known for one dramatic story, but the real damage is years of everything else. Maybe they have the faith, but still feel broken. Maybe they've got fired, failed publicly, made mistakes, or lost who they thought they were. Maybe they're the peace that they think they need for other people. If that's the person listening to this now, after every event after event, what do they need to hear from you?
Well, I mean, you're not defined by one incident or multiple incidents. I mean, I have a I mean, I wasn't able to write a book and have 50 chapters in that book if I didn't have lots and lots and lots of things that have happened over my time. Uh, it, we all deal with a bunch of stuff, and I don't care if you're my neighbor next door that's never been in law enforcement before. You still have your stuff that you're going through too. We're all going through life, and life is hard, and you making it worse on yourself by drinking and put a gun to your head is going to take and hurt more the people around you than it is going to be making the pain go away for you. I mean, it is going to make the pain go away for you for whatever time it's there, or you're going to live through it, because I know several people that have shot themselves and lived,
Makes it a lot worse.
and you have to deal with with all that. But seeing the mental anguish of your friends and family is so much worse for them. And it's one of the, if you had a friend or family member commit suicide, it's one of the biggest red flags that you'll possibly do it. Also, so I mean, if you're thinking that way, you need to reach out to somebody, whether you call 988 or you call Cop Line, or uh, there's a couple other first responder ones for EMS and for fire. Uh, you call one of those instead of 988, or you reach out to a buddy and talk to them. It's better than you sitting at home alone drinking yourself to death in that bottle of alcohol, and then putting that gun to your head, because that's no way to be, and you're gonna leave a mess for your family and friends, and leave them in a dark hole.
Very true. And one of my preceptors put it to me best way I've ever thought about it. On that is pain is only temporary. Death is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yep, I've used that several times. Don't don't do a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Now that's the damn truth. It really is. And as you said, I've had buddies commit suicide. I've had family members commit suicide. It's harder on the people around them than others realize, and it sucks all the way around. Um, so now on to this note, back to your book. So if people want to hear this, so if people hear this and want to follow your work or connect with you, or even just find the book Scars of the Badge: Faith, Trauma, and Redemption Behind the Thin Blue Line, where can they go? What could they do?
You can go to my website, scarsofthebadge.com, and follow there, or anywhere that books sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. You're probably not going to be able to find it on the shelf when you walk in, but they'll be able to order it for you and get you a copy.
Sweet.
So,
And if someone hears this today or tonight and realizes they need help before the next call stacks on top, what's the first step you want them to take?
well, reach out to people. They're, whether it's your friends, your family, uh, whoever people are in your life, reach out and tell people. I That's the biggest thing, is we all like to shut in and not tell anybody. But if you reach out and talk to people, they, it makes things so much better. The stories we were talking about earlier, I mean, talking is basically what counseling is. So you go with your buddies and talk it around a campfire or something, that can be as much therapy as going and sitting in a counselor's office and talking to them. But you're gonna have to be real and be honest about what's going on.
Oh, yeah. That's the biggest thing. Open up, talk. And you know that's that's the biggest, hardest thing for some of us, is to swallow that pride and be able to talk about it.
So I still have problems myself doing that. So
But yeah,
I'm preaching to me just as much as I'm preaching to anybody out there.
Same. And as you said, just going around a campfire or talking to friends or hell, starting a podcast out of nowhere like I did. It helps. We all have things that help us. How my podcast helps me, working with my hands, doing something. You have to find outlets. You can't let it eat you alive. As I always say, the world is not a better place without you. You're here for a reason. Find that reason. Do that reason.
Yes, sir.
This has been Dispatch Dysfunctional today. Huge thanks to Sergeant Tom Lee for coming on, talking about the story that everyone asked about, and more importantly, the stories behind everything. I just want to thank you for being here, telling your story, giving us your information, and having such a great explanation on what people do in your line of work now that a lot of people don't realize.
Yes, sir.
If you think it's too heavy to say it anyway. It beats a eulogy. You don't have to apologize for surviving however you can. You're not the reason things are heavy. You're the reason they're still moving. Need support right now? Reach out to me. Reach out to somebody. Text or call 988 or visit 988lifeline.org. You're not alone. Not in this job. Not in this fight. Want to share your story or connect? Visit critical-run.com or message the Facebook page, Dispatched and Dysfunctional. We're building this for you, for them, for all of us.